Monday. This is Jay Brew, co-chairman of Seafried and Brew. What we wanted to talk to you about today is what Dr. Ed and I talked on our webcast for our quarterly ALCO meeting, and talking about the economy and what the expectations we have. And this is something we've talked about before in the weekly webcast, is looking at the Fed's leading index 6-month forecast and how great this is as a way to look at our national economy on an ongoing basis. The point that we had made before is that if you had seen this in the April and a couple months prior, the country was green and dark green. And then suddenly we talked about that in May, it suddenly turned to lighter green, and we started to see some red states. For instance, like Michigan, West Virginia, South Carolina, and then the pink, which is basically an uneven economic growth. Well, as we looked at it, we sat there and said, let's look at June. June, a good thing is that California, for instance, came on dark green with the size of that economy. Still West Virginia red. And this shows the real sensitivity of this index, because different things happening with the coal industry on the negative to West Virginia suddenly popped up in the previous one and has continued in here. Maybe a better sign is Michigan going from red back into the pink zone, so showing some improvement. But the point that Dr. Ed and I made is that looking at this for the next 6 months is probably suggesting a 1% GDP growth. And the point is that we need, as community bankers, the ability to look out into the future at what's happening with the economy. And one of the points that Dr. Ed made is that things are somewhat uneven right now. That essentially when we look at what is happening across the country, that you have good economic numbers and some bad economic numbers. So for instance, we had ISM manufacturing moving down below that 50 level, which may show some contraction in manufacturing. Yet on the other side, we had a good employment number this past week and a good jobless claims number. So once again, we're in that maybe 1% growth, but will it push us into a recession, as many people have talked about? Well, we go to our Recession Threat Index, and you can see that we've had an upward move in terms of this index, moving over the 50, going closer to the 60% chance of a recession. And we want to watch this carefully, because there is a sign out there that there could be recessionary situations brewing. And within that, we want to see if maybe it starts to head its way back down with some of the economic activity that we've been starting to see. As you can tell, going back in time, we've had some movement, but then we've had some positive movement versus negative movement in this. And as Dr. Ed said, just 1 month doesn't tell us the story, but at least we have some notification that there is some pressure towards recession, and especially going up over that 50 level is very important for us to look at. So when we think about all of these different ways of looking at the economy, we believe that there's certain indexes that you should look at and rely on. Have a great week. This is Jay Brew, co-chairman of Seafried and Brew.